like to begin by recognizing and acknowledging that we are working and learning together on the traditional territory of the Nak'azli-Whatan First Nations. Fort St. James is a small town in the north-central region of BC. We are surrounded by 5 First Nations communities, including Nak'azli-Whatan First Nation, Tla'azdin Nation, Binche-Whatan First Nation, Yekooche First Nation, and Takla Nation. We are also known for our beautiful lake, Stewart Lake, our ski area, called Murray Ridge, our provincial parks, and our outdoor recreation. Fort St. James Secondary School is comprised of roughly 70% Indigenous population. Therefore, it made sense in the design of this project to look at some of the major historical barriers that have led to the destruction and marginalization of the local culture, and how we, as a community, move forward towards cultural revitalization and mending historical wrongs. As such, we focused our project on the truth and reconciliation process. Concentrating on truth and reconciliation created a means to deeply engage our students into the wrongs done and help them to try to make sense of why they happened and where to go from here. We were honored by having the support of local Aboriginal knowledge holders, school district staff, administration, and our students, which made this incredibly complicated yet meaningful legacy wall a reality. Presented in this documentary are some of the stakeholders for this project who worked with us to make this a powerful and enduring educational experience.
My name is Guy Prince. My real name is Francois Prince. I belong to the Beaver Clan, and I'm here from Fort St. James here, Nak'azli territory. And I work in the school, for now it's like 1 day a week, being a support to staff and mostly to students, and to bring forth, kind of like elders' presence or elders' knowledge to all of the programs, I guess, in school. Yeah.
My name is Leona Prince. I'm the school district principal of Aboriginal Education for School District 91. I'm a member of the Lake Babi Nation. I come from Nak'azli, a member of the Laksamasu clan, which is the Beaver clan. My lineage actually comes from Fort St. James, descendant of Chief Kwa and Stiche, and so back at home.
The aim of this project is twofold. First, encourage our students to examine the significance of the truth and reconciliation process using a cross-curricular, inquiry-based learning model. Secondly, students will then share the most important part of the process that resonates with them by designing and creating a portion of a feather to be permanently mounted on the entrance of the wall of Fort St. James Secondary School.
Oh, it's kind of interesting how you talk about truth and reconciliation. I think a large part of it, on my understanding from the talking with elders and looking at it through the cultural perspective, it's all about translation. So one of the things about bringing forth truth and reconciliation, I guess you can call it like in English, would be to just show people the translation to how the cultural aspect is. And one of the interesting ways about that is just the system that the First Nations have, or the cultural system, is hasn't been recognized before. So if you put forth truth and reconciliation information on anything, all we're doing is promoting the culture. So if we can bring more cultural knowledge or more cultural competency to staff and students in the school, it not only brings forth an identity, but also does put forth that truth and reconciliation where culture is recognized for what it is.
For myself and everything that I've learned about truth and reconciliation and how I've incorporated into my daily life and everything that I do as a person and in my professional life, it really is remembering who we were in the beginning. Before everything happened, I often refer back to our first treaty relationships, like the Turo Wampum Belt, because what that signified was at some point, we were two nations existing together, mutual benefit, mutual respect, and that's what that original relationship was. Along the way, we sort of forgot what that was, And right now, the truth piece is learning how we departed from that original relation, those original intentions of how this country was going to be, and sort of got off track. And the truth piece will be us finding out what that was. We can't repair everything, but learning and educating people and having our own knowledge around it will actually go a long way towards reconciliation. The reconciliatory piece is for all of us to hold all of our cultures up equally, not taking anything down from anyone, but just building everybody up and sort of remembering those original relationships and those original intentions and truly being how we're perceived as Canadians to the world.
One of the things that I've been working on was the translation, what I was talking about. And I asked a lot of our elders what the word "whaten" translates to in English. And one elder said, "Whaten means whaten." And then so I had to go sneak over to another elder and I said, "What does whaten mean?" And they said, "Well, if you want to put it in English, it means place. But it doesn't mean just place. It refers to the birds, the animals, the insects, the water, the air, the leaves, the grass, the trees, the willows. Everything in that place is whaten." And it made me realize that that truth and reconciliation, or even culture, comes to that matter, whether you're First Nations or European. When you're in a place, you're part of that whaten. So coming to terms to who you are, or based on the place you're at, is whaten, and that's truth and reconciliation.
I'm actually really excited about this after getting a short overview of what this project will become. I think it will impact our system in two ways. First of all, our students, the biggest stakeholder, the reason that we all here, the reason we walk. I think what they'll learn is that you can look at Indigenous pieces and Indigenous histories and learnings from many different places. I think it's incredibly important for them to see it not as just history, and for you to teach them through computer technology and then through wood carving. I think just those multiple modes of learning will solidify that learning, and they'll take so much ownership over that. And so you start with reconciliation and you have these experiential learnings in place where they really, really take ownership of it. I think if we just teach it in the one way, then they don't sort of incorporate that into who they are as people. But I think the more and more you can repeat a message in 3 different ways, I think that's going to be incredibly important. I also think that this will impact other staff and how they teach Indigenous knowledge, in that usually, traditionally, it was done through our humanities, so social studies, English, etc. But I think it's a trailblazing way to look at it through computer technology. Like, who even thinks about reconciliation and how you can use computer technology to sort of show that learning? And then, similarly, wood carving. I think it's just an interesting take, and it'll show other educators cross-curricular approaches that they can incorporate into their own practice. And I think that will be a secondary offshoot of this whole project, but also just as important for BC.
I think they just want a sense of belonging and ownership. And once you give them that, then they are a part of it. Then they own it. And then they're the ones that are going to pass it down. It's brought peace, unity, balance, all of those things that are connected not only to the culture, but to education itself. All of the teachers and staff and adults in this education system have created an environment for the children to learn. Every one of the children that worked on the project, students, have families that they brought home the information to, and they in turn spread it to their families and to the other communities. Even something as small as one panel representing a clan member, and the clan member actually represents 10 different nations in the surrounding communities. So one panel has the information that actually reached at least 10 communities around here. So that's one thing that I really see a deep, strong connection with the panel that's at the entrance, and for education and all the people that were in favor of this project.
After being involved in the original interview and having a chance to go into the school to look at the different parts of the school and how everything came together, and then listening to the words of the educators that were involved and also the community members that were involved, like Guy Prince, I was incredibly excited about just all of the possibilities that this had, and not only for the school, and this is where that the school and community connection really was such a key part of this whole process, because not only do you have the voices of those within our system, and sometimes within our systems we just remain within our system and don't include that outside perspective, but from the panned out shots of the community, which really showed the pride of living in that physical space. And we talk about community as in people, but I love the incorporation of that ideal of that whole physical space and territory, and then the voices that came not only from Guy himself, but the elder knowledge that he provided through it. And so I believe that that is such a great stepping stone to where we need to be in truth and reconciliation, and exemplifies it. Such an exciting process in that way, and just, honored to be a part of it.
I believe that the project has created a great understanding with students and within staff and the school as a whole. I believe it is very important to engage with the students with the truth and reconciliation. It's a great start to provide the knowledge and understanding within them. And once we provide that understanding within them, we're going to be moving forward in a positive direction with truth and reconciliation. It's a big project, definitely, but a little goes a long ways, I believe.
The connection this project has made in the school and the communities has been a very powerful start to the real truth and reconciliation across the country and across all the nations and even the world. The small part of, say, one classroom that creates a project like this, especially right in the entrance of the school, in the whole education system, it shows what you're going to stand by and what you're going to represent in the education system.
What it showed is that truth and reconciliation isn't the action of one person, one classroom, one school. It is a community approach, and you need those entire community perspectives. Also, the truth piece of it is everyone was so honest. Truth and honesty are similar, but not always the same. Truth is that act. And the honesty piece, which I also think were exemplified through this process, was that people were living their truths. So you can tell the truth, and then you can live your truth, live in an honest way. And every voice that I heard, whether in person through interviews or as I read on the panels in the wall, everyone was being honest and living their truth through that process. So I think that goes a long way into the truth and reconciliation piece.
I really enjoyed being able to make up a plan and then using the computer program and designing it, then finally being able to watch it being cut out with the machine. It was really cool to see the process, watching how it grew from just a sketch in the beginning to a beautiful piece of art by the end, and being able to look at the whole feather at the very end and know where it came from and all the different people who helped out.
This project helps students learn and engage with the curriculum that surrounds truth and reconciliation because they became more aware during the social studies class. When the topic of residential schools came into the class, we were into the COVID-19 lockdown. It gave me more time to do excess research and more reading on the chapters we were studying. Even if I did the bare minimum of what we had to learn, I would still be more educated prior to looking into this topic. I find that it's the same situation with the project, where not only did we get to learn more about history, but we got to visualize it on our own circumstances and be rewarded by having it be put on the school wall for everyone to see.
Participating in 3 classes to complete this project, I think, was a clever idea. Having more and a larger variety of students participating makes the message all the more impactful.
The most impactful part of this project was of getting a better understanding of why the Truth and Reconciliation Act is so important.
Learning about the residential schools and how terribly the First Nations peoples were treated just because of the different cultures and historical backgrounds was probably what was the most impactful for me. It still amazes me how the Europeans who came over thought it was okay to treat them so badly and that what they were doing would help when it really didn't. It just caused a bigger rift between them. I believe the truth and reconciliation process has really helped with the healing. Even if things had gone differently when they first met and they had been able to accept each other for the way they are, so their differences in culture, appearance, and way of life, we would have probably been in a better position with each other.
This Truth and Reconciliation project connects with the community and students in a few different ways. Having it all come down to details, each student that designed a piece of the feather shows their connection to the truth and reconciliation by putting out what they picture when the words are spoken to them. This shows each student and community member who enters the building that there are people who see it. There are people who care about it enough to make the change in society and to have equal treatment among all.
Again, if I'm going to reiterate this piece, I've had time to think since those original questions before seeing the outcome of this project. After seeing the outcome of the project and all of the hard work that went into this piece, I think that we think about cross-curricular as being different subjects, but from a very Indigenous perspective, from what I've seen from the school community and the outside community, is this idea around cross-curricular within the ways of thinking and knowing and being. And often we think logically, we think with our minds, and that's the only place we engage, and what we try to strive, especially in a cross-curricular way, is to be holistic, is to hit different areas of thinking in different ways. And like I said, I went very surface level when I was introduced to this project, and I talked about the different subject areas that were utilized in order to carry out this project. But in thinking more about it, one of the pieces that really stood out is that not only are we engaging students' minds and having them to stretch their ways of thinking about one particular topic in different ways, but we're also very holistically engaging them emotionally. So having that heart-mind connection. And for me, that's very important. That speaks to our core competencies in what we're trying to do. So not only are we engaging very directly with the curriculum that we're tasked to help our students learn through, but also those skills and those emotional pieces and those physical pieces of our core competencies. So in thinking more about it, it's very holistic. Speaks to the First Peoples principles of learning. And because fundamentally this is grounded in those perspectives, that goes a long way in promoting truth and reconciliation, because you're coming at it from those multiple perspectives, considering so many different things. I mean, the depth of the layers of things that are being done through this project can be talked about and thought about for years, and I think it will have a profound impact. And I still think that this will shift the way, and projects like this will shift the way in which and how we teach things within BC public schools.
I talked a little bit about this before, bringing connection with the students and the people and the land, And one of the things that is really powerful in our culture is wood, the trees. And it's so powerful that we actually call our greatest clan leader, who controls all the clan. We call him Keohwadachun, and Keohwadachun is actually translated to the standing trees of the forest. So, the connection to the land is represented in this, and those feathers is a material, like we believe strongly in feathers, because feathers in our culture are materials used in two worlds, in the physical world and the spiritual world. So we're not only connecting the different cultures of the world by bringing the wood from all over the world, you're also bringing a connection to the spirit world and the land and the people. And it's just an amazing thing.
It helps the students build a better understanding, so when we start somewhere and then it goes outwards, so when the students are able to understand, they're going to be able to understand within their home and within their community.
And every one of those students that represent part of this legacy is going to echo all of these teachings through time, where it's going to be a part of their identity. Every student that got inspired to learn and to involve themselves with hands-on learning is something that they'll never forget. And it's something the education system will never forget, because now it's a part of history and it's a part of our future.